Ever wonder what separates those truly impactful leaders? The ones who inspire uh, not just obedience, but like genuine dedication and growth.
Yeah.
So we dove deep into this book, How Successful People Lead by John C. Maxwell,
Oh, good one.
to unearth that answer for you. And what we found is a framework so practical, it can honestly like revolutionize the way you approach leadership anywhere in any area of your life.
It's called the 5 Levels of Leadership.
Okay?
And it shifts the focus from leadership as a noun, like, a title you hold, to leadership as a verb. It's an action. It's a process.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. Maxwell argues that everyone starts at level 1, which he calls position. It's that classic scenario where people follow you because they have to, not because they want to.
Exactly.
Think of the boss who relies solely on their title to get things done.
Oh, yeah.
Maxwell actually calls this the weakest form of influence.
It is.
He argues that relying on your position alone will only get you so far.
Totally.
So how do we break free from these limitations of level 1?
Well, he suggests a pretty radical mindset shift,
Okay.
trading entitlement for movement.
What do you think he means by that? Trading entitlement for movement.
It's about recognizing that leadership isn't about what you're owed, it's about what you contribute.
Right.
So instead of resting on the laurels of your title, you actively seek ways to learn, grow, and add value to your team.
So it's less about I'm the boss, do what I say.
Yes,
And more about how can I serve my team and empower them to succeed.
precisely.
It's a subtle but profound shift
Totally.
that can really, make all the difference. Maxwell also encourages leaders at this level to move towards their people,
Yeah,
which sounds pretty straightforward.
it is.
But what does that actually look like in action?
It's about being proactive, in building relationships, understanding your team's needs, and showing genuine interest in their well-being. Think of it as building a foundation of trust and connection.
So it's not enough to just give orders from your office.
No.
You have to actually get out there, connect with your team on a personal level.
Yeah.
Show them that you care.
Right. And the third tip for escaping the confines of level 1 is to think like a volunteer,
Okay.
which might sound a little odd in a professional setting.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But hear me out.
Okay.
About approaching your leadership role with a sense of service and genuine enthusiasm.
Okay.
So instead of viewing it as a chore or a burden, right,
Yeah.
you find joy in contributing to the team's success and the overall mission.
So even if you're at the bottom rung, level 1, you can start embodying these principles of movement, connection, service, just to lay the groundwork, to move up.
Absolutely. And that brings us to level 2.
Okay.
Perlition. This is where things start to get really interesting because it's all about building genuine, positive relationships with your team.
This level really resonated with me. I've always believed that building strong relationships is just crucial for effective leadership.
It is.
How does Maxwell actually describe this level?
He says people follow you because they want to.
Okay.
It's no longer about your title or position. It's about the trust and connection you've cultivated.
Mhm.
People are drawn to your leadership because they genuinely like and respect you.
But it's not just about being everyone's best friend.
Right, of course.
There's got to be more to it than that.
Maxwell emphasizes the balance of care and candor.
Okay.
While building positive relationships is essential, you can't shy away from difficult conversations or avoid holding people accountable.
So you're saying it's not about being a pushover.
No.
It's about having those tough conversations, but doing it in a way that shows you genuinely care about the person and their growth.
Exactly.
Find that sweet spot
Yes.
where you can provide constructive feedback and challenge people to improve,
Right.
while also maintaining that foundation of trust and respect.
Exactly.
Sounds like walking a tightrope sometimes. But I can see how that balance, that care and candor, would be crucial for building, a truly effective team. Now, I'm curious, what happens when we add concrete results to the mix?
That's where we move to level 3,
Okay.
which Maxwell calls production.
Hmm.
This is where leaders really differentiate themselves.
Okay.
He says making things happen separates real leaders from wannabes.
So it's not enough to just be likable and build relationships.
Right.
You've got to deliver, right? You
Yeah.
have to actually achieve the goals, get things done.
That's right.
Okay.
Level 3 leaders not only set the standard, but they motivate and inspire their team to achieve the vision. They're the ones who roll up their sleeves, lead by example, and create an environment where success is contagious.
This is where we see the rubber meet the road,
Yeah.
so to speak. It's about turning like those good intentions and relationships into tangible results.
Exactly. But Maxwell cautions against a common pitfall at this level.
Oh, okay.
Getting so fixated on results that you neglect those level 2 relationships.
That makes sense, yeah. You can't just bulldoze your way to success without considering the impact on your team. What's Maxwell's advice for avoiding that trap?
He emphasizes thinking people first, then progress. It's a reminder that your team is your most valuable asset, and their well-being is crucial for, sustained success.
So it's about finding that delicate balance again.
Yes,
Driving results while simultaneously nurturing and supporting your team.
precisely.
When you get that balance right,
Yeah,
you create a powerful synergy where the team becomes greater than the sum of its parts.
it does.
That's fascinating. So we've gone from leading by position to leading by permission to leading by production.
Yeah.
What's next in this leadership evolution?
Well, now we're entering the realm of truly transformative leadership, level 4. People development, he calls it the greatest fulfillment for a leader because it shifts the focus from your own achievements to empowering others, to reach their full potential.
Okay, so that sounds like a pretty big leap. What does that shift actually entail?
Okay, so think of it this way. At level 3, you're leading the charge, right? You're setting the example, you're driving results.
Right.
But at level 4, you become more like a coach,
Okay.
guiding and mentoring others to become leaders themselves.
So instead of just being the star player, you're focused on like developing a whole team of all-stars.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's why Maxwell argues that level 4 leaders should dedicate 80% of their time to empowering their people. It's about recognizing that your impact multiplies exponentially when you invest in developing other leaders.
Okay, I could see how that would be challenging, though, for leaders who are used to being in the thick of things.
Yeah,
Driving production themselves.
it is.
What are some, like, specific strategies for making that shift to people development?
He outlines a really, really clear process.
Okay.
He calls it recruit, position, model, equip, and empower. It starts with recruiting the right people who have the potential and the desire to grow into leadership roles.
And then you position them strategically.
Yes.
Right. Making sure they're in roles that play to their strengths, allow them to shine.
Absolutely. And once they're in the right positions, you model the behaviors you want to see. Remember, actions speak louder than words. So you have to embody the leadership qualities you're trying to cultivate in others.
That makes sense. It's like that old saying, don't tell me, show me. But modeling is only part of the equation. What about actually equipping them with the skills and knowledge they need to succeed?
That's where equipping comes in. You're providing training, resources, and opportunities for growth and development. Think workshops, mentorship programs, even, assigning challenging projects
Okay.
that stretch their abilities.
And then finally empowering them to take ownership and make decisions. It sounds like you're really stepping back, trusting them to lead.
Exactly. It's about giving them the autonomy and the authority to, to make decisions, to learn from their mistakes, and to grow into their leadership roles.
This whole level 4 concept is really fascinating. It's like you're creating a ripple effect
Yeah.
of leadership,
Right.
developing leaders who can then go on to develop even more leaders.
And that ripple effect is what ultimately leads to level 5.
Okay.
The pinnacle of leadership. Maxwell says the highest leadership accomplishment is developing other leaders to level 4.
So it's not just about like reaching the top yourself.
Yeah.
It's about creating a legacy of leadership that extends beyond your own tender.
Precisely. It's about building a culture where leadership is woven into the fabric of the organization, where everyone is empowered to lead, contribute, and make a difference.
Maxwell describes level 5 leaders as the top 1%, the ones who create a lasting impact. What sets them apart?
Well, it's not just about the quantity of leaders they develop, but the quality. They focus on creating a sustainable leadership engine that can continue to generate exceptional leaders even after they're gone.
That's incredible. And Maxwell emphasizes the importance of having an inner circle at this level.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
People who provide like support, guidance, and accountability.
Yes, he even shares what he asks of his own inner circle. He wants them to be honest with him, to challenge his thinking, to help him carry the weight of leadership, and to enjoy the journey with him.
It's a reminder that even at the highest levels of leadership, you still need people you can trust and rely on.
Exactly. And it highlights the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people, the ones who will, push you to be your best and hold you accountable to your values.
So we've covered the 5 levels, from position to pinnacle. And it's clear that each level demands a new set of beliefs, behaviors, and skills. It's like leveling up in a video game, but with real-world impact. And just like in a video game, there are challenges and obstacles to overcome at each level. Maxwell doesn't just paint a rosy picture of leadership.
No.
He provides practical advice on how to navigate those common pitfalls that can derail your progress.
He does.
Okay, now I'm really interested to hear about those pitfalls. What are some of the traps that leaders need to watch out for at each level?
Well, at level 1, the biggest danger is becoming complacent, relying solely on your title to get things done. It's that classic boss mentality that can create a toxic environment, and just stifle growth.
It's like that saying, people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad bosses. So how do you avoid falling into that trap?
Remember those 3 key tips for escaping level 1?
Yeah.
Trading entitlement for movement, moving towards your people, and thinking like a volunteer.
Right.
When you embody those principles, you're less likely to become that boss that everyone, dreads.
That makes sense. It's about shifting your mindset.
Yes.
From, I'm the boss, to, how can I serve?
Exactly. Now, at level 2, where relationships are paramount, the biggest pitfall is failing to balance care with candor. Some leaders might shy away from difficult conversations because they're afraid of, damaging relationships.
Yeah.
But that can actually backfire.
So you're saying that sometimes those tough conversations are actually necessary for the health of the relationship and the growth of the individual.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot where you can provide honest feedback and hold people accountable.
Okay.
While maintaining a foundation of trust and respect.
It sounds like a delicate balancing act, but I can see how it's, crucial for building a high-performing team. Now, what about level 3? What are some of the common pitfalls that leaders encounter at the production level?
One of the biggest dangers is neglecting those level 2 relationships.
Okay.
In the pursuit of results, leaders can get so focused on hitting targets and achieving goals that they forget about the people who are making it happen.
It's like that old adage, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So how do you avoid becoming that, results-obsessed leader
Right.
who leaves a trail of burnt-out team members in their wake?
It goes back to that principle of people first, then progress. It's about recognizing that your team is your most valuable asset and that their well-being is essential for sustained success.
So it's about finding that balance again, right?
Yeah.
Driving results while also nurturing and supporting your team.
Precisely. And another potential pitfall at level 3 is failing to delegate effectively. Leaders who try to do everything themselves not only burn themselves out, but they also prevent their team members from growing and developing.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So delegating is not just about freeing up your time. It's about empowering your team to, step up and contribute.
Exactly. And when you delegate effectively, you're not only boosting productivity, but you're also creating opportunities for your team to learn, to grow, and to develop their leadership potential. Now, moving up to level 4, where the focus shifts to developing other leaders,
Okay.
a common obstacle is insecurity.
That's interesting. What makes insecurity such a challenge for leaders at this level?
Well, think about it. You've spent years honing your leadership skills, building your expertise, achieving results. Now you're being asked to step back and empower others to lead, potentially even surpass you. That can be a tough pill to swallow, for some leaders.
Yeah, it's like you're being asked to create your own competition. How do you overcome that insecurity and embrace the role of a people developer?
It requires a shift in mindset. So instead of viewing it as a threat, you have to see it as an opportunity to multiply your impact. When you develop other leaders, you're not diminishing your own value, you're expanding it, exponentially.
That's a powerful perspective. It's about realizing that your legacy isn't just about what you accomplish, individually,
Right.
but about the leaders you develop, who can then go on to achieve even greater things.
Exactly. And another common pitfall at level 4 is failing to see the long-term value of investing in people development. It can be tempting to prioritize those short-term gains over the slower, more gradual process of developing leaders.
But as Maxwell points out, that short-term thinking ultimately limits your potential.
It does. When you invest in people development, You're not just building a team, you're building a sustainable leadership engine that can drive your organization's success for years to come.
So even though it might require, like, some patience and a willingness to play the long game, the payoff of level 4 leadership is immense. Now, I'm curious to hear about the challenges of level 5, the pinnacle. What are some of the pitfalls that even the most accomplished leaders need to watch out for?
Well, believe it or not, one of the biggest dangers at this level is believing your own press. It's easy to get caught up in the accolades, the recognition, and the sense of accomplishment that come with reaching the pinnacle of leadership.
So it's like that saying, it's lonely at the top. You're surrounded by people who admire you, but it can be easy to lose sight of your true purpose and values.
Exactly. And that's why Maxwell stresses the importance of humility. Even at the highest levels of leadership, it's about recognizing that you're still learning, still growing, and still accountable to your team, your organization, and your values.
So even when you've reached the pinnacle, it's important to stay grounded.
Yeah.
To remember that leadership is ultimately about service, not self-aggrandizement.
Absolutely. And another potential pitfall at level 5 is failing to adapt and evolve. It's easy to rest on your laurels, right? And assume that what got you to the top will keep you there.
But as we all know, the world is constantly changing, and leadership needs to adapt to those changes to remain effective.
Precisely. Level 5 leaders are those who are constantly learning, growing, and challenging themselves to stay ahead of the curve. They're not afraid to experiment, to try new things, and to embrace innovation.
It's like they're always striving to level up, even when they're already at the top of their game.
Exactly. And that's what makes them such inspiring role models. They're not content with simply maintaining the status quo. They're always pushing themselves and their organizations to achieve even greater things.
Wow. We've really covered a lot of ground here, exploring the 5 levels of leadership from the foundational principles of level 1 to the aspirational heights of level 5.
And what's so compelling about this framework is that it's not just for CEOs or executives.
Right.
It's applicable to any area of life where you're trying to make a positive impact.
I'm already starting to see how these principles could be applied to, my own life, whether it's leading a team at work, volunteering in my community, or even just being a better parent.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. These principles are universal and can be adapted to any situation where you're trying to influence and inspire others.
But I imagine it can feel like a bit overwhelming,
Yeah.
to try to put all of this into practice.
That's understandable. But remember, it's a journey, not a destination. You don't have to master all 5 levels overnight. The key is to start with self-awareness.
Okay, so where do we begin? It feels like a lot to process.
It all starts with honestly assessing where you are right now.
Okay.
Which level resonates most strongly with your current leadership style? What are your strengths? And just as importantly, where do you see, those areas for growth?
So it's about taking stock of your current leadership inventory.
Yes.
The good and the areas that need a little work.
Exactly. Once you have a clear picture of your starting point, you can begin to identify those specific actions that will help you level up.
Okay, so let's say like someone listening realizes they're stuck in that level 1 position trap. They're relying too much on their title and not enough on building like genuine influence. What's a practical step they could take today to start moving towards level 2?
Remember those level 1 best practices we discussed?
Yeah.
Trading entitlement for movement, moving towards their people, thinking like a volunteer.
Right.
Any one of those is a fantastic starting point.
So instead of just barking orders, they could make a conscious effort to connect with their team, ask about their, challenges, offer support.
Precisely. Or they could seek out opportunities to learn a new skill, to volunteer for a project outside their normal responsibilities, to demonstrate that they're not just there to, collect a paycheck, but to genuinely contribute.
Those are great examples. Now, what about someone who's like already operating at level 2, building those solid relationships, but maybe struggling to make that leap to level 3, where, production takes center stage?
For them, the key might be getting crystal clear on their team's goal and what success really looks like. Are they all on the same page about the desired outcome? Do they feel a genuine sense of ownership, over the mission?
And once those goals are clear, it's about making sure the team has the resources, the support they need to actually achieve them.
Right.
That could involve delegating more effectively, providing training opportunities, or simply, removing roadblocks that are hindering their progress.
Absolutely. It's also crucial at level 3 to remember that that balance of care and candor Don't shy away from those difficult conversations that might be necessary to course correct or address performance issues.
But always approach those conversations from a place of genuine concern and a desire to help the individual grow.
Exactly. Now, for those who are, already rocking it at level 3, driving results, exceeding expectations, it might be time to start thinking about their legacy, about how they can develop other leaders and make a lasting impact.
That's that level 4 people development magic we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. A practical first step might be to identify those individuals on their team who show, leadership potential, who's already taking initiative, demonstrating a willingness to learn, and inspiring others.
Once they've identified those rising stars, it's about providing them with opportunities to stretch themselves, to take on new challenges, and to grow their leadership skills. That could involve mentoring them, sponsoring them for leadership development programs, or even giving them the autonomy to lead their own projects.
And remember, one of the most powerful ways to develop other leaders is to model the behaviors you want to see. Show them what, effective, values-driven leadership looks like in action.
Lead by example, essentially. Now, this might sound like a crazy question, but what about those who are already at level 5, the pinnacle? Is there even room for growth at that level?
There's always room for growth, no matter where you are on the leadership journey. For those at the pinnacle, the challenge might be staying humble, avoiding complacency, and continuing to find ways to make a meaningful impact.
It's like that saying, the top of one mountain is just the bottom of the next. Even when you've achieved incredible success, there's always another challenge to conquer, another way to contribute.
Exactly. They might focus on building a culture of, mentorship within their organization, sharing their wisdom and experience with the next generation of leaders. They might dedicate their time and resources to supporting causes they believe in, leveraging their influence to make a positive difference in the world.
So it's not about resting on their laurels, but about using their platform to elevate others and create a ripple effect of positive change.
Precisely. And one of the most important things they can do at this level is to surround themselves with people who will challenge them, keep them grounded, and hold them accountable to their values.
It's that inner circle concept that Maxwell talks about.
Yeah.
Having those trusted advisors who will tell you what you need to hear.
Right.
Not just what you want to hear.
Exactly, because even the most accomplished leaders need support, guidance, and a healthy dose of perspective.
This has been such an insightful exploration of Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership. I don't know about you, I'm walking away with so many practical takeaways that I can start implementing, in my own life.
And that's the ultimate role, isn't it? To not just, understand these concepts intellectually,
Right.
but to actually embody them, to become the kind of leader who inspires, empowers, and makes a lasting impact.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge. Where do you see yourself on these 5 levels? What's one action you can commit to taking today to move closer to that next level of leadership?
Because remember, leadership is not a destination, it's a journey.
Yeah.
And it's a journey that's well worth taking.
Until next time, keep diving deep.